I now invite His Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, to make a statement.
Distinguished co-chairs, Mr. President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I once again thank the government of France and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for organizing this international conference on the implementation of the two-state solution. Let's tell it straight. For decades, Middle East diplomacy has been far more process than peace. Words, speeches, declarations may not have much meaning to those on the ground. They have seen it before. They have heard it before. Meanwhile, destruction and annexation bulldoze ahead. The onus and obligation is on all of us to prove that this effort is something different. We know the central question for Middle East peace is implementation of the two-state solution, where two independent, sovereign, democratic states, Israel and Palestine, live side by side in peace and security. My central question to those who stand in the way is this: what is the alternative? A one-state reality where Palestinians are denied equal rights and forced to live under perpetual occupation and inequality? Or a one-state reality where Palestinians are expelled from their land? That is not peace. That is not justice. That is not in accordance with international law, and that is not acceptable. That will only increase the growing isolation of Israel on the global stage. Let's be clear. Statehood for the Palestinians is a right, not a reward. And the denial of statehood would be a gift to extremists everywhere. Excellencies, the only realistic, just and sustainable solution is two states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side in peace and security, within secure and recognized borders on the basis of the pre-1967 lines, with Jerusalem as the capital of both, in line with international law, UN resolutions, and other relevant agreements. Two states recognized by all and fully integrated into the international community. But time is running out. With every passing day, trust is slipping, institutions are weakened, and hopes are dashed. That is why I implore the international community not only to keep the two-state solution alive, but to take the urgent, concrete, irreversible steps necessary to make it real. That means immediately ending violence, immediately ceasing annexation and settlement activities as called by the International Court of Justice, rejecting the forced displacement of the Palestinian population from any part of the occupied Palestinian territory, which would constitute a grave violation of international human rights and humanitarian law. Rejecting any form of ethnic cleansing, ensuring full accountability for any atrocity crimes and other violations of international law. Restoring credible political dialogue and reaffirming the equal rights and dignity of both peoples. All this requires courage from leaders on the ground and courage from the international community to act with principle and persistence. Starting with Gaza. Excellencies, nothing can justify the horrific 7 October terror attacks by Hamas, and nothing can justify the scale of death and destruction in Gaza since then, a level without precedent in recent times. Gaza has descended into a cascade of catastrophes, tens of thousands dead, virtually the entire population displaced many times over, the shadow of starvation looming over everyone, all with the world watching. I welcome recent steps to reduce restrictions to life-saving humanitarian aid, but this is far from the solution to end the nightmare. We need an immediate, permanent ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and full and unfettered humanitarian access. These are not preconditions for peace. They are the foundation of it. And let's be equally clear. Beyond Gaza, the continued occupation of the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, is illegal. It must end. It is the law, reaffirmed by the International Court of Justice in its advisory opinion of July 2024, reaffirmed by this Assembly and rooted in international law. Excellencies, let us reject the false choice between Palestinian statehood and Israeli security. There is no security in occupation. Let us affirm Israel's legitimate security concerns must be addressed, and so must the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. We must speak with one voice to condemn all acts of terror, to denounce all targeting of civilians and taking of hostages, to reject incitement to hatred and violence. And we must call on Israel to recommit clearly and unequivocally to the two-state solution and to cease all actions that undermine it. And we must support Palestinian unity around a peaceful, democratic, and inclusive vision of statehood. Let us lay the groundwork for unified Palestinian governance, credible security arrangements, and a Palestinian Authority that carries out reforms and that can deliver for its people. The Palestinian Authority has taken critical reform steps. I urge the international community to recognize when progress is made and to continue to support the Palestinian government in its reform agenda under incredibly challenging circumstances. Excellencies, this conflict cannot be managed. It must be resolved. We cannot wait for perfect conditions. We must create them. We cannot defer peace efforts until suffering becomes unbearable. We must act before it is too late. Excellences.
Excellencies, at its core, this is not only a political challenge, it is a matter of shared values and principles. The principle that all peoples are equal in rights, equal in dignity, and entitled to live free of fear. That no nation should live in permanent insecurity, and that no people should live under continued occupation. This is the promise of the United Nations Charter and international law. This is the call of conscience. Let us answer that call with clarity, courage, and conviction. Let us, at long last, choose the path of peace, not as a concept, but as a commitment, not as a dream, but as a reality, for Palestinians, for Israelis, for the people of the Middle East and the world. Thank you.